A Bitcoin OG who has been more right about Bitcoin for over a decade and more right than anyone else has just dropped a 148-page whopping report making some very shocking predictions about Bitcoin and technology overall. So today we're not only going to be breaking down this behemoth, this massive 148-page report, but we're going to be talking about what exactly this Bitcoin OG might know that we don't know. She is very connected in the Bitcoin space, and I think when this lady speaks, we need to listen. She has a net worth of over $100 million, and she has been predicting very bullish things about Bitcoin all the way since it was $200 a coin. That's right. Today we're talking about Cathie Wood and the newest report that Cathie has written predicting $1.5 million Bitcoin by 2030. So if we're going to start breaking down this report and everything that's in it, we're going to have to take you guys to it. And I want to start by looking at some of the most important charts. Again, I'm not going to be reading 148 pages worth of slides for you guys today. Me and the man behind the camera, Ben, my assistant, we've been breaking down this report all day, trying to find the most interesting parts about it to show you today. Again, we're trying to condense the amount of time that you guys all have to spend learning about Bitcoin. So the very first chart I want to show you, it's buried in the report. It's a long way down. I'm not going to lie. I had to search and search and search and scroll and scroll and scroll for it, as you guys can see. But it is obviously looking at Cathie Wood's 3 prior predictions about Bitcoin. Because Cathie, for a very long time, has been making some very bullish 2030 Bitcoin price predictions. Most of you guys will be familiar with this. Cathie's 2030 bear case for Bitcoin is $300,000 a coin. Her base case has been somewhere around $500,000 to $700,000 a coin. And her bull case right now is that Bitcoin hits $1.5 million per coin. Now, the most interesting parts about this chart in particular is the CAGRs. You guys know I absolutely love looking at the compound annual growth rate of Bitcoin. Now, most people assume that this CAGR is going to actually decrease as we move forward into the future. And I do expect and I do agree that we will get into a world where Bitcoin's CAGR does decrease. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you guys to think I'm just uber bullish forever. And I always think Bitcoin's going to be going up at 150% per annum. We will get a decrease in the CAGR, just not yet. I think we're going to have bigger returns for a little bit longer than most people believe. I do think this idea of diminishing returns and Bitcoin's volatility decreasing because the institutions are here, I'm not sure how long that narrative will hold true for. Yes, it is hard to deny that Bitcoin's volatility has been on the decline for somewhere around 4 years now. And that is true. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disputing that. Bitcoin's volatility has been decreasing. I know I have a chart to show you guys. And this is why, a lot of the power law believers, they think they have data on their side. Because the data is pretty clear. Bitcoin's volatility has been declining for a long amount of time here. The best chart to kind of highlight this is the chart that I'm about to pop up on screen that has Bitcoin's price in blue and Bitcoin's volatility in red. You can see very clearly since 2013, since even earlier, 2012, Bitcoin's volatility has been stair-stepping downwards. I'm not arguing with that. But what I am saying is that I think too many people are taking this 12 years of data and they're projecting it forward into the future. I'm just not certain that we're going to see volatility continue to decline forever. I really am just not sure we're going to see that. Again, maybe we do a live poll. We have 1,294 of you guys tuning in between YouTube and Twitter. Let me know in the comments down below, wherever those comments might be. They could be down below. They could be off to the side. Let me know, will Bitcoin's volatility continue to decrease? I would love to hear your opinion. We might even trigger a little bit of a debate in the live chat. Who knows? But one thing that's not a debate, because we're just going to be covering Cathie's projections today, is looking at the CAGR. So we only need to see a 58% CAGR for Bitcoin to reach $1.5 million a coin. Now, I'm going to really try to zoom this thing up as big as possible so you guys can see what I'm cooking with, all right? This here is the report from Cathie. I'm even going to remove my big mug. You guys don't want that. As I tell my friends, I've got a head for radio. So I'm going to remove my big head, and you guys can see what we're looking at. If Bitcoin has a compounded annual growth rate of 58%, we're going to see $1.5 million Bitcoin by 2030. Again, I think that scares a lot of people, because that's only 5 years away, and that's uber conservative. That's actually incredibly conservative. Again, I've said it once and I'll say it again. I'm not saying I think it's my base case that Bitcoin's CAGR is going to rise over the next 10 years, but I do think there's a higher probability than most people think that Bitcoin's CAGR does something similar to what it has done over the past 10 years. I'm saying it's more likely than most people believe. That's what I am saying. We can see here, Bitcoin's CAGR, 196% for the past 10 years. It's pretty high. It means on average, Bitcoin is tripling each year. And I think it can do that for a lot longer than most people think. So this is Bitcoin's CAGR. This is the maths. This is the data. Over the past 10 years, it's at 196%. Now, we only need a CAGR of 58% as per Cathie Wood's report to reach that number that you guys can see on screen, 1.5 million. Now, I want you to quickly take a look at that second bar, the one right next to it. This is Cathie's base case. Do you guys see what I can see? We only need a CAGR of 40% for Bitcoin to reach $700,000 a coin. And this is Cathie's base case. Okay. Now, what's really changed is that I've been seeing and watching a few of Cathie's more recent interviews. And as the timeline, the chronological ordering of these videos is going to show you guys, Cathie just keeps getting more and more bullish on Bitcoin. So we can see here, this is a 2021 video and interview. You can see May 2021. Cathie's talking about a $500,000 target. Now, I don't think the audio is going to work for this video. I'm going to give it a quick try. If it doesn't, I apologize. And I'm going to show you a 2024 video in a moment here. Okay, so we don't have audio on that video. I apologize. But this interview came out at the peak hysteria of the ESG FUD and the energy FUD that was being proliferated and thrown at Bitcoin way back in 2021. This interview came out just after China banned Bitcoin mining, Elon Musk, Cathie Wood's best friend. Again, Cathie has been the only person, okay, exaggeration, but Cathie has been very loud and very proud for her pro-positive Tesla stance for a decade. People laughed at Cathie Wood. People thought she was crazy. People said that Bitcoin thing, that Tesla thing. What are you talking about, Cathie? These are not investable assets. But Cathie was loud and proud about Tesla. We can see in this interview I just tried to play for you guys. Cathie was saying, look, it doesn't matter that there's all this FUD about Bitcoin's energy mining. It's still going to $500,000 a coin. As you guys can see the timestamp of this video, 2021, May 2021. Cathie Wood is sticking with her $500,000 target for Bitcoin. What I think's even more noteworthy, though, is that as time's gone on, Cathie's not only stuck with her Bitcoin predictions, but she's gotten even more bullish. We can see here, and I think this is important to recognize because there are some conditions on the chart that I want to show you in a moment that kind of explains why Cathie's getting even more bullish. She has assumptions built into this model predicting $700,000 base case by 2030, a $1.5 million bull case by 2030, and I believe a $300,000 bear case by 2030. She has some very key assumptions, which I believe is influencing what's going on right here. So we can see right here, Cathie Wood from ARK has said that the optimal Bitcoin allocation for a portfolio is 19.4%. Can you see what I'm looking at? This is up by more than 200% or 3x since 2022. So we've said this would happen for a very long time here on the channel. Going from 0 to a 1% Bitcoin allocation is so much more difficult than going from a 1% Bitcoin allocation to a 20% Bitcoin allocation. Because once you get off 0 and you feel a little bit of the magic of what Bitcoin can do for a portfolio, you want to learn a little bit more about this magic thing about Bitcoin. For example, impromptu rabbit hole, but I'm going to tell it. My card declined for dinner last night, and the young lady who I had dinner with graciously paid for the dinner. And I got her to open up a Bitcoin wallet. I paid her for the dinner plus some. And I said, there you go, that's dinner. She said, what should I do with it? I said, look, I recommend holding at least half of that for the long term. And you're going to want to learn more about this crazy thing called Bitcoin. And again, I think this is something that I really try to do everywhere I go. Whenever I'm in El Salvador, I'm trying to tip people in Bitcoin. And I'm trying to convince them, do not sell your Bitcoin for at least 5 years. Por favor, no venda tu Bitcoin para 5 años. I don't know how good my Spanish is. Ben, my assistant in the background, speaks fluently, so he's probably cackling at me right now. But I really encourage people, their first touch point for Bitcoin really should be a touch point where they get to experience Bitcoin's magical features, like number go up. And again, it's trying to train people. Do not sell your Bitcoin for 5 years. There is nobody ever in existence who's bought Bitcoin, held it for more than 4 years, and lost money. It's impossible because Bitcoin is perfect number go up technology in the long term if you're able to ignore the volatility. And this is why we're going to see money managers like Cathie Wood continually increase her portfolio allocation recommendations. That's a mouthful for Bitcoin. We can see it's at 19.4% as we're talking today in 2025. Now, I told you guys that there were some assumptions behind this model that Cathie was putting out. There are some very key reasons. There's some data for how she got to these numbers. She didn't just pull these numbers out from anywhere. Oh, no. She has some assumptions. I want to walk you through the assumptions on the right-hand side of this chart for where Cathie gets her bull case from. Okay. Now, I'm not going to spend another 10 minutes on this chart in particular. It is the most important one. But what I will show you, the reason why Cathie gets more and more bullish is because we're seeing more and more institutional, nation-state level treasury adoption of Bitcoin. So we can see in her original model, she ran the numbers and she said, if we get 6.5% of the institutional investors allocating to Bitcoin. This is a very key component that we need to see $1.5 million Bitcoin. Cathie also says, what happens if we get 60% of the gold market? Again, the gold market is $18 trillion in size. Cathie says, what happens if we just get 60% of it? Again, we're not going to completely take over gold. Oh, no. Just going to capture a little portion of that gold market. And this is one of her key assumptions. This is one of her key assumptions, or a catalyst that she believes we need to get $1.5 million Bitcoin. What else have we got? Cathie's saying, look, maybe we can get 6% of the emerging markets capital and money into Bitcoin. She's also saying, in this big green sliver that you guys can see on the chart, what happens if we get 7% of the nation states around the world and we get their treasuries into Bitcoin? I know 7% might sound a little bit large, but I want to remind you guys, today there is 25 different nation states all around the world who are actively exploring strategic Bitcoin reserves. 25, that's a whole lot more than 7% of the nation states around the world getting into Bitcoin. But we can see here, this is part of Cathie's estimations for $1.5 million Bitcoin. The final two on the list, she's estimating we get 10% corporate treasury adoption and a 60% CAGR in Bitcoin on-chain financial services like layer 2s, like the Lightning Network, like side chains, and things of that variety. So all of a sudden, there could be some reasons why Cathie's getting even more bullish, because it really looks as if, in particular, corporate adoption of Bitcoin and nation-state level adoption of Bitcoin is increasing even faster than most people could have imagined. It's accelerating in a really, really big way. I don't think anyone was prepared for what we've seen over the past few years. So this is really this model right here is the core part of Cathie Wood's prediction. And this is just her more recent prediction. Again, like I said, she's been incredibly bullish on Bitcoin for a very, very, very long time. An incredibly long time. Longer than most people could have imagined. Now, a few other really important charts in this report that I want to run through quickly for you guys. This one right here, this purple line is showing us that the supply last active 3 years ago, it's reaching all-time highs. So that means we are seeing all-time high levels of supply suffocation. And that is also what this green line on this chart is showing us. Bitcoin's velocity is reaching all-time lows. That means there is simply not much Bitcoin being traded. It's not moving around. It's moving to the hands of people who are not selling their Bitcoin for the long term. Very important trend we have to be aware of. I don't like to dive too much into the cost basis, but I do like to dive into the corporate FOMO of Bitcoin. I want to dive into corporate FOMO in a little bit more detail. But again, if you are one of the 2,814 of you guys watching this stream between YouTube and Twitter today, firstly, welcome. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. I just want to warn you or remind you, your chance to front run the corporations who, as we can see, are actively getting into Bitcoin in a very, very big way. I do think your opportunity to front run them is running out just a little bit. Again, if you do want to continue stacking Bitcoin aggressively, if you do want to continue buying Bitcoin, if you do want to even onboard your friends and family in a safe and secure way, we always like to remind you guys about what Rhino Bitcoin is doing. We think they've got the slickest user interface in the entire space. Rhino allows you to buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, send money anywhere around the world. And even in the not too distant future, you're going to be able to borrow against your Bitcoin with Rhino. So we always like to point you towards what Rhino is doing. They are a solution to the insane supply and demand ratio that Carlito is pointing out in the chat. There is a lot of people who are going to need to buy some Bitcoin in the future. And if you want to buy your Bitcoin, we recommend Rhino. They're a great option. They're a great alternative. We think they're the one all-in-one Bitcoin super application. They're even going to give you guys $10 of free Bitcoin if you sign up using a promo code Bitcoin News. That's one word, Bitcoin News. So again, go get your hands on that $10 of free Bitcoin and check out what Rhino is doing today. Because again, like I just mentioned, your opportunity to front run the corporations could very well be running out. This gets me back to the chart I want to show you guys. That's in Cathie Wood's report. Let's have a look at it. An increasing number of public companies now hold Bitcoin. Now, I want you to have a look at the, I want to call it parabolic increase that we saw between Q3 and Q4 2024. The Bitcoin on the balance sheet is rising aggressively. In August 2024, there was somewhere around 360,000 Bitcoin on balance sheets of corporations all around the world. Think about that, 360,000 Bitcoin on balance sheet. That's about 1.5% of the total Bitcoin supply. Those are the numbers I want you to remember. This was literally 4 months ago. Today, there is more than 600,000 Bitcoin on balance sheets of public corporations around the world. That's nearly doubled. We've nearly seen 300,000 Bitcoin purely put onto the balance sheets of public corporations. Public corporations no longer hold around 1.5% of the total Bitcoin supply like they held a mere 4 months ago. They now hold, as you guys can see from this chart, are over 3% of all of the Bitcoin that will ever exist. You guys can see the chart is clear as day. Supply shock. I really do think a supply shock is coming. It's inevitable. It's happening. It's happening right before our eyes. I mean, let's have a look at this. Let's really dive into what is going on with this chart right now. I want to really point your attention to the Giga Chad on this list. The man with 446,000 Bitcoin to his name. What is Michael Saylor doing? He right now sits on something like 2% of the entire Bitcoin supply. Let me walk you through the maths. Let me walk you through the numbers of why that's so significant. This man is one man. He is one billionaire out of 2,500 billionaires. He has control of one public company out of 2,500 public companies. And he holds 2% of the total Bitcoin supply. This again just demonstrates how rare Bitcoin is, how scarce Bitcoin is, how unstoppable Bitcoin is. There really is no second best. And speaking about the man, apparently Michael Saylor is about to be live. Please be careful if you're on YouTube watching Michael Saylor live streams. Could be fake. Potentially could be a fake live stream, so be very, very cautious. I'll keep all night hider watching to check the validity of that Michael Saylor live stream when it happens. But what I will say is that it's very obvious. It's very obvious that these public companies are absolutely FOMOing into Bitcoin. Have a look at the other names on this list. We got MicroStrategy, we got Marathon Digital, we got Riot Platforms, Hut 8 Mining, Tesla. We got some massive names on this list. Something I want to draw your attention to is the fact that half of these names are Bitcoin mining companies. Now, again, we did do a video talking about JP Morgan's new Bitcoin multiplier that they're using to value Bitcoin mining companies who have Bitcoin on the balance sheet. it appears as if maybe, just maybe, we have entered a new realm when it comes to how Bitcoin is treated and viewed. All of a sudden, companies are getting treated with a Bitcoin multiplier for holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet. I wish I was joking, but I'm really not. Companies are getting valued with a Bitcoin multiplier from $1 trillion bank. That is JP Morgan, of course. So again, I do think these are some things we do need to continue paying attention to. I mean, what happens if other public companies also say, hang on a minute, that's a little bit interesting. We got $1 trillion banks valuing those Bitcoin mining companies at a massive premium because of that HODL premium. That's the exact words JP Morgan was using, simply because they hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet. I think this is going to accelerate the Bitcoin on the balance sheets of public corporations, in particular the Bitcoin mining companies. I think the Bitcoin mining companies are playing a very pivotal role in this transition to hyper-Bitcoinization. Again, a lot of nation states are very publicly making partnerships with mining companies publicly to stack Bitcoin for the country. It's happening. I do think keeping an eye on what's going on in the mining space is very crucial. If you are interested in what's going on in not only the mining space, but the broader Bitcoin space, again, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the world's biggest Bitcoin mining conference, that's right, world's biggest, I didn't stutter, it's coming to Florida. And it's going to be in Florida in under 60 days. So of course that is Mining Disrupt going down on March 25th to 27th. This is the largest Bitcoin mining conference in the world, and you're going to see speakers such as Dennis Porter, Samson Mao, Matthew Siegel, BTC Sessions, the man with the biggest Bitcoin only YouTube channel. Massive hat tip to Benny. You're going to see an incredible list of speakers. I always encourage you guys to check out new conferences. Go and shake the hands of some other Bitcoiners in person, because there is nothing better than meeting Bitcoiners in person. So I encourage you guys, don't watch the future unfold. Be a part of it. Secure your place at Mining Disrupt 2025 now. And you can even do that with a little bit of a 20% discount, I'm told, if you use a promo code Bitcoin News. So that is, again, one word, promo code Bitcoin News. Make sure you use the link in the description to get your discounted tickets to Mining Disrupt. And again, we have 3,516 of you guys tuning in on a Wednesday afternoon between Twitter and YouTube. If you're on Twitter, make sure you go and check out the YouTube live stream for all the goodies buried in the description of that YouTube video. And tell us how the experience is from Twitter. We've had a couple of comments. I want to check in on the comment section. Broski on Twitter says he can't see the chat. Again, I love Twitter. X is great. Let's just say the user interface on YouTube is far more developed for live streams. That's what I will say. So again, feel free to join us on YouTube if you want to see the chat. Now to Robert's comments. You won't catch me in Cartagena. I've never been to Cartagena myself. My buddy Brandon's actually there right now, I believe. So Rob, if you're going to be in Cartagena, shoot Green Candle a message. All I will say, Rob, to answer your other comment, it is very difficult to escape countries when the planes aren't flying in the air. I found that out for 2 years trapped in Australia. With all that said, guys, I think we need to pay very close attention to what Cathie Wood is doing. I hope I was able to dig some nuggets out of this 148-page report for Cathie Wood. I hope this 29-minute live stream saved you a little bit of time. It's what we try to do on this channel. And all they said, thank you so much to the 3,600 of you guys tuning in. Stacks and Till summarized the whole report. What a waste of 139 pages. Just read the 3 Bitcoin pages and the white paper. I think that's a beautiful note to end today's stream on. I'll see you guys in the next one.